This is where you're going to need a little help from a friend. Of course, my friend just happens to be my lovely co-host. A vanity mirror? Well, okay, I guess it'll work. Okay, so Kristen has taken a position back behind the speakers. And what I'm going to have her do is I'm going to have her put the mirror on the wall right about the level of my head. And she's going to slowly move it forward along the wall until I can see this speaker in that mirror. When I see the speaker in the mirror, that's going to be the angle of first reflection. I'm going to put a little piece of tape there, and that's where I'm going to hang the very first panel. Easy enough. Okay, so if you put the mirror up against the wall, there you go. And now just start moving it forward slowly. Now just angle it down a little bit. A little more, a little more. Come out this way. Okay, stop. Okay, now I can see this speaker in that mirror. So that's going to be my angle of first reflection. I'm going to put a little piece of tape there. That's where we'll hang the first panel. And then we'll do the same thing on the other wall. Thank you, Kristen. Okay, well, we figured out where we're going to put our wall panels. Now it's time to go top to bottom. In other words, ceiling and floor. Now, as you can see, this room, we don't have to worry about the floor because it's carpeted. But what we're going to do is for the ceiling, we're going to do the same thing that we did for the walls. We're going to put a mirror up on the ceiling. We're going to slowly move it forward until from the mixed position, you can see the speakers in the mirror. When you do, put a little piece of tape, that's where you're going to hang your ceiling panel. Or, as we refer to it in the business, a cloud. A lot of people ask me, should I buy panels or can I just build them? Well, that's a good question. Now, if you don't want to build them, then by all means buy them, because you're going to have to do some kind of treatment. Now, the size of the panel depends on how much wall space you need to cover. You want to cover as much of the wall as you can, but not all of it, so you don't make your room sound too dead. And those prefab sound control kits that they sell at the music stores are really good, and they contain just about everything you need. But if you're handy, I'll show you how to build your own.
Hi, I have something for you.
Oh, great, thanks. We
You're
are
welcome.
going to need this eventually. Sorry it took me so long. I had to change my shirt. Something I can get dirty, and I won't get in trouble.
Oh, we're gonna get dirty?
Well, I am.
Oh, okay.
It's just the way I work.
Just
I mean,
checking.
I get dirty walking out here. Okay, now we talked a little bit about buying versus building. So I thought in this segment I would actually show you how to build a panel, because they're not really that difficult to build. It's just stuff that you can find at any one of the home building stores. So let's just run through a few of the things that we're going to need. First, these are what's called 2x2 furring strips. You could get them at any of the hardware stores. Usually when I decide whatever length I want them cut to, I have the store cut them, because then you get really nice, what my dad used to call machined edges. I had these cut to 24 inches because that's how big I want my panel to be. Okay. We also need 3-inch wood screws, long enough to go all the way through and bite into the piece of wood that it's going to be butting up against. Okay. And corner brackets. Okay. These corner brackets we'll use to put on the corners of the panel so that it's nice and sturdy. A little nail to pound pilot holes. You want to pound a little bit of a pilot hole in there so the screw doesn't split the wood when it goes through. Okay. Next we have, of course, our handy dandy staple gun for stapling the covering and for stapling the insulation inside the frame. Next, the covering. I've chosen burlap. Burlap is inexpensive. It also is just sheer enough that we can kind of see through it. You want to get material that's not completely tightly woven. It should be just sheer enough to kind of sort of see through it, because sound's got to get in there. Okay? So this I got at Joann's Fabrics. Love Joann's Fabrics. I buy all my fabrics there. Burlap, but it comes in a whole lot of colors. I just like this neutral because it's going to work with the color in my room. Okay? And last but not least, the insulation. Now this is cotton insulation as opposed to fiberglass. I like cotton insulation because,
So soft.
and not only that, but it doesn't get all that itchy fiberglass stuff inside of it, okay? And that's all you need. So let's get to building.
Let's go build.
Let's do it. Now to build a sound panel, you want to join the 4 strips together in a square. But a unique use that I find for these little corner brackets is you can use it as a T-square and attach them with the 3-inch screws. Usually I like to do the last couple of turns manually. Then put the elbow brackets on each corner for strength. Come on, you.
Do you want me to try, Francis?
Lay the burlap on a flat surface and place your frame on top with the elbow brackets facing up. Now have your assistant hold one side of the fabric while you stretch it and attach the other side with a staple gun. Continue stretching the fabric tight while you staple all 4 sides. When you're done, cut off the excess fabric and cut and place the cotton insulation in the back of the frame and lightly staple it in place. Ta-da! There it is. Okay? All right. Well, let's go put it on the spots that we pointed out before in the studio.
Okay, sounds good.
Here we
Let's
go.
go.
You know, elbow grease is environmentally safe. Oh, let me get these discs out of our way first. Okay. All right now. So this is where we put our tape, where we've, found our first angle of reflection. I'm just going to set this here for now just to kind of see how it looks. What do you think, Kristen? Look all right?
I think it looks pretty good.
All right. Well, let me sit in the sweet spot here and have a look at it. Okay, now the first thing I notice when I look at it is, yes, it is in the right spot, but I think we're still going to get some reflections off of this particular piece of gear here because it's all solid surfaces. So in keeping with what we talked about earlier about how you're probably going to have to set your studio up twice, this an initial setup looked like the right space, but as I look at it now, I don't think it's right. So what I'll do is I'm going to move this over in the corner. It'll get it out of the way. It'll still be handy. I can roll it up here when I need to. But what it'll do is eliminate any possible reflections, and also I can put a much bigger panel there.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So let's move this over into the corner, and we'll carry on.
All right.
How's that?
Good.
You sure?
I think it's perfect.
All right, because, we went through this with this thing. I don't need to go through this again.
Not where it was, but now where it is.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay. Now I'm going to go get the panel.
Okay.
Hanging panels is pretty easy, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. I'm using the traditional picture wire method. It's a level. And there's 2 schools of thought on whether panels should be set flat against the wall or mounted so there's some space for sound to go around behind the panel. Well, as you can see, Kristen and I are getting up in the world. Well, actually, we're just up here on a couple of ladders so that we can hang our ceiling panels. Now, we went through the same process for the ceiling panels that we did for the wall. We took a mirror, put it up on the ceiling, slid it across until, while I'm sitting in the sweet spot, I was able to see the speaker. That's the spot where we're going to hang the panels. And what I've done is I've put a couple of eyelets in the ceiling, and we're going to take these chains, and we're going to slip them through the eye, okay? And then I'm going to take this panel, which one that I made earlier, and it's got some hooks on the other side, and we're going to take the one side, clip it on here. You got it?
Uh-huh.
Go through and grab the other end. How you doing over there?
Okay, how are you?
Good. Got it?
Yep. Got it.
Got
You?
it. Yep, we're there.
Perfect.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, what I like about the hook and eye is it gives me the ability to tilt it, move it around. The other thing, I like to get a nice straight line across, matching. And I like a little tilt to it. Also, with ceiling panels, you don't want to attach them flat to the ceiling. You want to let them hang a little bit so that sound can get up in and around behind them. Also, it makes a great place for you to put like a rope light or something inside of it. It gives you a really nice,
Mood lighting?
very nice mood. Because you know, this is a creative atmosphere, and nothing helps a creative atmosphere better than mood lights. Okay? So, there's our panel. Bass traps are basically boxes with porous sides that contain some sort of insulation. They're used to trap bass frequencies. They're mostly put in corners and along the baseboard because that's where bass frequencies tend to build up. They travel along the wall and build up in corners, so we use traps to absorb this excess energy and allow it to flow smoother throughout the room. Now I'm going to use these pre-made foam wedges in my one true corner. The size of this room will never give me a full bottom end, so I can't worry about it too much. Well, here we are in our finished studio. We did a pretty good job, if I do say so myself.
I would have to agree with
Yep.
you, Francis.
We got everything hooked up. We got our panels on the walls. We only have one last thing to do.
What's
And it's
that?
what I like to refer to as before and after. Meaning, we want to go back and we want to listen to our favorite tracks again. And you want to use those same ones that you did last time.
So Justin Timberlake again.
Justin Timberlake again,
And
yay!
Led Zeppelin. And Muse?
That's right.
And
That's right.
Deftones.
That's right. And the classical stuff, because you really want to listen carefully for the clarity, the definition, the depth, the imaging, all the things that we talked about before, because everything should be in place and your room should be exactly what you want it to be. The other thing you might want to try is if you can find something that's got solo drum tracks where the drummer's just playing. Because you know, when it comes to sound, you can't beat a drummer. You can try, but you can't beat one. Because the drums have everything from that super high end of the cymbals to the nice low bottom end of the kick drum. So if you can find something that's got solo drums on it, use that. Great way to tell the room. And again, classical records as well, because of the way the orchestra is set up. And this brings us to final fidelity. Doing your final listening. This is where you would want to get a variety of things, not just the tracks that you had listened to before, but all kinds of stuff. And again, the biggest one for me is the classical stuff, because the way the orchestra is laid out really going to help you with your imaging and your balance. Okay? So if you followed all the instructions that we gave you here, your room should sound great. All your gear should be in there, should be working, and you should have it. So there we are. But before we go, I do want to thank my lovely co-host, Kristen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Francis. I had fun and I learned a lot of stuff.
Well, good.
And I hope everybody else learned as much as I did. But I wouldn't be a good co-host if I didn't remind you to maybe give everybody a little review, because we learned a lot of stuff and we need to kind of sum it all up.
Good thinking. Good thinking. Well, all right. Let's go do our final review.